Okay, what's good, YouTube? We are back again with another video. I'm trying to just do more of these video diaries more. I definitely said that. I wouldn't even consider myself a YouTuber. I just post this, but like I'm gonna talk through it like I am a YouTuber. So do what we gotta do. Um, First and foremost, I want to say almost April. My month of rest for March is almost over, and so yeah, we're trying to get back to like just creating on a new level this month. So trying to get back into some projects. And like this week, I'm doing like a noise fast. So the first week of every month, I usually do a noise fast, where I don't listen to any music. I don't watch no videos. Not really on social media. Like only basically like to hit people back, but that's pretty much it. So yeah, we're doing a noise fast, and yeah, so kind of what I really want to think through this week is like I met a lot of like cool creatives over the weekend. Like I pulled up to this studio space in Lawrence on Friday. It's called Mod Studios. I may link them right here, like do something, maybe not. But I pulled up to Mod Studios, and yeah, I just met a lot of different types of creatives. I met a lot of people like who are photographers, cinematographers, directors, and I met this guy who did a documentary. He's the owner of the studio, and he was just kind of talking to me more about it. And it was centered around like the Lawrence public school system and like how the people aren't really given space within like the conversation of like what should be done within the public school system, and how kind of the community has like galvanized and rallied around that cause to like make a difference, and how they've continued to shoot it. I haven't watched the documentary, but I definitely do plan on it when I'm done with the fast. But that was just so interesting. And then Saturday I went to this other event, that one of my mutuals invited me to. It was like a party slash networking event, and it was so super cool. Like I met a lot of new people. I didn't know anybody there, but I put up with a couple of my friends. That was cool. And yeah, so I met this other guy who was working on a documentary as well about just graffiti artists in Boston, and that one is called um what is it called? Boston is I think Boston is blacker than you think, something around like that. But super cool. Like I was just chopping it up with him about his idea because it's like a four-part docu series. It was super interesting. It sounded super interesting, and I was just like, bro, like these are the people that I'm trying to connect with, because I'm trying to do a lot more longer form videos, such as like more films, more short films, more docu series, more documentaries. And like I was telling him about an idea that I have for a documentary, and he was just like, "Yeah, this is amazing. You definitely need to just get started on this. Like, don't really think too much." He was like, "Don't really think too much about the pre-planning," because I'm like, documentary is, and then like he kind of shifted my mindset around it, because documentaries are really different um, from like regular short films or like regular videos. So it's just like, because it's more about the contents and less about like the aesthetics, like the other stuff like that. Like not too much about the cinematography, but it's more so really about like telling a specific story. So that definitely did shift my perspective. But then like it kind of had me more thinking, and like what I kind of really want to do this week more so, and I may do like just a couple of videos, like just a series of videos around this, but like more so about like kind of the through line between within like the types of work that I want to make. And I'm hoping that this can just give me a little bit more clarity on like the stuff that I'm trying to do and things like that. And yeah, so just trying to find that through line or theme between the different work that I'm trying to do, because I definitely I definitely see one, but I haven't really like been able to articulate it for real because and it's just kind of hard, I guess, cuz like I'm just trying to do so many different things at once, and it just kind of feels like a lot because like I am currently working on my app alignment as well, and basically that app is a app tailored to black and black artists and artists of color, like not just black artists, but like artists of color in general, and just kind of creating a digital space for them to kind of network and collaborate with one another, and also, yeah, just resource sharing, and allow them to kind of shine their portfolios. I'm not doing the best job at describing it, but yeah. So like basically, it's centered around like allowing creatives to have a community that is more centralized, I guess, because I think being in Boston in particular, it's just like super. There's a lot of creatives of color here. It's a lot, but like I just think that we are I guess, too spread out, and like it's just not as easy to connect when you don't live within the metro Boston area. So like when you do have to drive in and out, like you pop up to events here and there, but like it's just not as accessible. And Boston isn't the biggest city, so it is harder for us to really feel like we are seen. But there are tons artists of color in Boston, and I just think like maybe if I were to kind of digitalize that space and create a space online for it, even though like me personally, I kind of hate being online, like just kind of just everything that it comes with it, like perception, performing, like all those things. Like I hate being online, so like I kind of really want to make this space authentic and like in a place where you don't really worry about how you're perceived. And I know like that's gonna easier said than done, because it's just like I know that also like when you create something, like it kind of takes on a life of its own. Like I guess like kind of how Instagram, like it was made to do something specific, but now like Instagram literally has a life of its own, and it's been able to grow and evolve and things like that. So yeah, so I think the premise of that specifically though was just like connecting um a community that kind of just feels a bit invisible in a sense. And I know like black art, or I know that black art within like the grand sense of like art in general is still like underappreciated and underrepresented. But I definitely see like people breaking the barriers like day by day. Yeah, like with just everything happening with fashion designers, photographers, cinematographers, directors, movie directors. Um, but it still feels like there's a limit to how much we can do or how far we can go because of, I guess, I don't really want to say it, but like kind of capitalism and like white supremacy as well, because through through both of those things there are few stories. There are like specific stories that can be told, and then like other stories that are more about like equity and black revolutionism and um black nationalism as well. Those stories don't really get as told. Obviously they do, but they don't have the same platform. And don't really know where I'm going with this. I'm kind of like rambling a bit, but like yeah, so it kind of just feels like a space like that is needed. I speak to so many people and they're like, yeah, this is a great idea for an app. And I'm just like, yeah, because I think people are yearning for that community, and like that is something that I want to be able to cultivate. I think in a sense. And like I feel like for me, like I don't know, like something about, obviously I'm an artist, but like something about me, like how I perceive myself, like I don't feel like I want to grow into a space where I'm not the one like creating the art specifically, but I'm the one that's like creating the space for the art, or like I want to be in a position to support artists, black artists and artists of color, because I love black art and I grew up on black art and I was surrounded by black art as a kid, as an infant. So it's just super important to me, and it's super important like the messaging behind it, because there's always a, I think behind all black, not all, but like a lot of black art and a lot of black art with meaning is politicized, and people don't really want to get into that, or people don't really want to really, I mean, like people don't really want to like think often or think all the time, and especially non-black people, they don't want to have to think about those things that make them uncomfortable and things like that. So yeah, so like that, the essence of that, like the essence of like community building and providing space for artists, like, or just for providing space for blackness, and I say blackness but I do mean people of color, but specifically blackness, to thrive, I guess. So that is kind of where I sit with alignment, and like kind of where my mind is at with that. But then like it made me start thinking about like the projects that I've done in the past, like the most recent gallery I had around the black church, and what worship looks like within the black church, and how yeah, just what worship looks like within the black church. And then like that idea, it's in itself, the black church really made me like, I just thought a little bit deeper about it, because like the black church is literally like the cornerstone of so many communities, like especially in Cambridge. Like there are so many, yeah, like I was saying, there are so many black churches within Cambridge, and like these churches have been there for centuries. Like the church that I currently go to has been there for 108 years. So I think that and also like over the weekend I was at my church and I was kind of going through their archive, their photo archive, for a project that I'm trying to do. Sorry, I don't know why I froze like that, but yeah, so I was going through their photo archive for like a little project that I'm thinking about doing, and it was just so beautiful to kind of see like, well, one, like more physical mediums, because they had like so many different like types of film. Like they had so many different, like obviously printouts of photos, they had film photos, they had Polaroids, things like that. And I was just like, wow, this is beautiful. And how like photos are one of the only like standing, or like one of the only things that stands this test of time, I guess, in history, because it's so easy to forget about the history that we built, well, in general, but like specifically at the church, like the history of the church, and how, or the history of the black church, and how that has built, or sorry, how it is built into so many communities, and how it plays a role within so many communities, and how it affects so many communities. And then yeah, so then I was also reading a bit about this biblical book that I have, and it was kind of about like the importance of doing church together. So like it kind of just felt like things were just aligning, and I was just like my idea of like what's important to me, and like God's idea of what is important to him, it just kind of feels like it's more aligned. So yeah, but aside from community specifically, like, and in terms of blackness, like I also really like cherish like telling black stories as well. Aside from like community specifically, like I also really obsessed with just telling black stories, and like black specific stories, I guess, because um I like our understanding of the world, and the way that we interact with it, and how it interacts with us, is just so different. And I'm just like, I can see that on in my day-to-day interactions with people, just how I continue to think about myself, how I overly critique myself based on the environments that I'm in, and I'm like, how can I change to fit the mold of my space, as opposed to me being comfortable in my space and then having them just react to me however they do. And like from the smallest of things to like from like the way I dress to the way like I carry myself to the way I do my hair, like it's all part of the experience, like of the black experience. And specifically, I want to tell stories of black men, just in ways that they haven't been really seen, like on the big screen, or just in general. Like I guess like when I'm thinking of feature films, and I know like there could be several different short films and things of that nature, but like that really tell vulnerable black stories, it's not too many. It's the same that float around. It's Moonlight, and it's Waves. Like obviously you gotta Get Out, things like that. But like you have obviously Love, and like Love Jones. You have and then you got like the classics like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, and things like that. But like it's not like that. Well, it is obviously, but it's not like too nuanced in a sense. And I think like that's kind of where I feel like I want to fit in, and I kind of want to kind of break those narratives, because I recently did a project, a short film. It was called Distant Lovers Part 2, and this was kind of like around a black man going through a long distance relationship, and how like the idea of distance kind of feeds into his own demise, I guess. Like how the distance has a life of its own within the relationship, and how like that can like play such a critical part in like the way that you see yourself and the way that you see the other person. Because like I think a lot of relationships are proximity based, and I've noticed that about like a good amount of my relationships, like they've been proximity based, because I think if you had a choice, you probably wouldn't choose to be long distance. So like in the story, like the distance and like being away from her, and like also he suffers from like substance abuse and things like that. So like I kind of wanted to touch on like how just different aspects of a relationship that aren't like him and his girl, like his insecurities, how like his not addictions, but like his like how he runs to drugs at times, and also like the distance itself, like how those play a part within the relationship just as much as like love does, just as much as like um care, things like that. Yeah, so like I kind of wanted to tell it from that perspective, like from the perspective of the just from the perspective of like him. Yeah, it's from his perspective. Sorry, like I'd be all over the place, but it's from his perspective. But like in a sense, it's like a unreliable narrator, because it's like he thinks different things. Because I'm like, the mind plays tricks on you, honestly. And it's like when you're not able to see someone else's reality, really live in a space with them, like your mind could really tell you anything, and you don't fully know what the truth is. Like whatever you believe is the truth. So like if you believe your girl's cheating on you, that's like your mind will continue to feed stuff like that to you regardless. So yeah, so that's kind of like the perspective I took on it, like because I believe that's kind of the perspective I took on it, because I believe like I don't think that's a story that I've seen be told in that way. So like that's kind of where I want to fill in. But another one is just like another well, I'll just say honestly, because I'm like I don't think anybody's watching, but the documentary idea that I had was so basically I've lived in my apartment complex for basically all of my life, um, and like I've seen like, and it's just so crazy to kind of see just the evolution within it, like how I was there basically when I first moved there, like or like in the 2000s. Like I had so much, like basically all of my family lived there. Like my cousins, like family friends that were cousins, lived there. It was Haitian, like strictly, and almost. But obviously there was other people, but there were so many Haitians. Like it was such a good, and we were so tight knit. Like we would always like be at each other's houses. We would always throw parties and be there. And then like in the when the 2010s, that's when like they kind of started to move, and like a lot of people started to move and people started to come in and stuff like that. And it was just like kind of a change of like who I would see. These weren't people I grew up with, so it was I was a little more, not even just me but my family was just a little more hesitant to speak to them. They also weren't Haitian, and I think that like I think if you're Haitian, you understand. Like it's kind of if you know, you know thing. Like Haitians are really reserved, and they don't go out their way to speak to other groups of people, especially black people, because they just have their own perceptions of them. But it kind of it kind of like shifted like how I thought about it, and like even in the sense of like being in a okay. So then, yeah. So then the 2010s like was a kind of a lot of shifting, and then like, and then in the 2020s I went to school basically. So I was basically out of that apartment for like 5 or so years, and then now coming back, it's just like I'm here. My family still lives here, and it's just like the dynamic. It just feels so different around the space. I mean, obviously it's the same, like because it is still a predominantly black apartment complex, but I just feel like the people now are so a lot newer, and like I don't know anything about them, and it's just like that is just unfortunate, because even the nature of like apartment, like subsidy apartment houses, it's just like there's no real shared space for us in that space. Like there's no common rooms, there's no nothing like that. It's just 4 floors, um 4 rows, like 4 columns of houses, 4 floors, and like that's it. Just apartments. So like in a sense, like it's kind of like they designed that on purpose to not for like they designed that on purpose to not cultivate community and not like encourage just like speaking to your neighbor. And it's just like that's something that has played a role, like that has played a part in like shaping how we interact with each other, because obviously we say a hi, a bye, but like I feel like nowadays people don't speak to their neighbors. Like at least where I'm from, people don't speak to their neighbors. Like they'll give you a hi and like that's it. That's for the most part, but they don't share with their neighbors. They don't do none of that. So yeah, so basically my documentary idea was kind of around just like the black families that live within my apartment complex, and like me kind of telling my story a bit about how I've seen it change for so long as well. So yeah, I wanted to tell just different types of stories, because there are just different dynamics within there. Like there's a group, there's like 3 brothers that live on top of me. Would love to like hear their perspective about like how being at this apartment has kind of like what being at this apartment has like felt for them, and like just like I guess the memories and like that they've been able to share and they've been able to build being at this space, and like how long they've lived there and things like that. And like obviously there are newer people, like single mothers, like a mother and a son, and as well as like a grandma, a mom, and a daughter, I believe. So like those are just 3 different stories that I can tell, to really bring to really bring one message together. But like that's kind of what I'm trying to think through. Like, what really do I want to say with this documentary, and how will I go about shooting it? So yeah, so that's like kind of an idea I have. So it's like that's also connects so much with alignment in the sense of like really tapping into the people that are with me within my network and like just seeing where it goes. So I don't know. This has been just like a yap session, and like obviously I'm gonna. This is like kind of my first ideal, like just like thought dump about this. So I'm obviously gonna be sitting with this a lot more this whole week. Just gonna be spending time in stillness, just to try to spending time reflecting, journaling about this, just writing down ideas, just to try to like understand like the through line within like the work that I'm trying to do, kind of like my purpose within this creative space, and like yeah, and also how it aligns with like God's purpose for my life. Because I feel like the things that I value, I feel like He values as well, and yeah, it's kind of beautiful to see, especially how I mentioned like seeing that today about like, or seeing that today, or seeing that section of the book today about community and what the church itself means, and like how they have been like the origins of the church, and how like people were so selfless, like people sold all that they had for the people around them. They shared everything. They ate meals together every night. So yeah, I mean obviously community looks different, and community has to look different, because we cannot let just proximity end community, because like at that point we're gonna let capitalism win, because like if they're driving you out, they want you to be further away. They don't want you to cultivate these spaces. So we'll see. This was like a first of many for the week. Hopefully I drop more. But yeah, see you guys.